everyone, my name is Liz. I'm the office manager here at Hand in Hand, and today for FAQ Friday, I wanted to talk about kind of what everyone wants to know. How much do I actually owe for my services? And the answer, as we talked about 2 weeks ago, is dependent on what kind of insurance you have. But a big part of knowing how much you owe is being able to read an explanation of benefits. I think this should be taught in the schools. It's not. It should be, but everybody should know this. And so I wanted to share the knowledge that I have about how to read an EOB. Now, I do want to point out that I'm not a billing expert. I have not been to school for this, but I just have the experience of being employed, having worked for insurance companies, and having being the office manager here. I look at an EOB every day because what I do is I double check to make sure that the amount that we charged you is correct, according to what the insurance company told us we should be charging you, or if the insurance company is wrong. And anything that I'm confused about, because I'm not a billing expert, I forward to my billing team. But I do look at these EOBs every day, and so I just wanted to show you kind of an example of one and what that might look like. Now, I totally made this up, and I color-coded it. Yours won't come color-coded, but I wanted to talk about the different columns you might see on your EOB. So the first column here in the red is the billed amount. This is the amount that the provider is actually billing for the service that you had. And this is true whether it's mental health at Hand in Hand, or whether it's mental health somewhere else, or whether it's completely unrelated and it's just a medical service. You're still going to see these same columns on your EOB. So this is important information. Even dental. Dental's a little different, but even dental, these are all very kind of the same terminology is used across the board. So the billed amount is the amount that the provider is billing for the service. The allowed amount, this is the amount that the insurance company is allowing, so I call that, the provider to bill for the insurance. It's also called the contracted rate, the amount that the insurance company and the provider have contracted to offer that service. The discounted amount is the difference between those two amounts. So this will be higher, this will be less, and the discount or adjusted ADG, adjusted amount is the amount that you're saving by using your insurance company and having their contracted rates. The deductible amount here in green and the blue copay coinsurance amount are sometimes one column. Deductible amount means that's the amount that's going towards your deductible. Whether it's $500 deductible or $6,000 deductible, doesn't matter. That's still going towards your deductible until your deductible is met. The copay coinsurance amount, this is if you have like a copay or if you've already met your deductible and now you have a percentage of the service that you owe. Claim payment is the amount the insurance company actually paid the provider. Patient responsibility, this is not always on the EOB, but this is the amount that you owe out of pocket, and it should match either the deductible amount or the copay coinsurance amount. Again, that may not be there because they kind of assume that you know that the deductible or copay coinsurance amount is your patient responsibility. So I'm going to slide down here. This is scenario number 1, completely made up. In this completely made up scenario, the billed amount is $150 and the allowed amount or contracted rate is $100. So the discount that you saved by using an in-network provider is $50. That's the difference between those, right? And then in this first scenario, I did this as somebody that has an in-network provider and has a deductible. So this deductible is the green part. So this is fully going to the deductible. They have not met it, which means they owe that full $100. So the patient responsibility is also $100, which is actually the same as the contracted rate because they haven't met the deductible. And because of that, the insurance company did not pay anything for the claim. Number 2 scenario is somebody that has a copay instead of a deductible. Billed amount's the same, $150. Allowed amount is $100. That's the contracted rate. You still save $50 by using an in-network provider. The deductible is 0. That just means you don't have a deductible that applies to this claim. This person's copay is $20. So $100 minus $20 is $80. That's the amount that the insurance company actually paid the provider. So in this case, this provider is going to send the insurance company a bill for $150. They're going to discount it to $100, and then they're going to write a check for $80 to the provider. And then the provider is going to collect $20 from the client or patient. So the patient responsibility is $20. So again, that matches. Okay, so this last one is a little bit different. This last one is for out of network. So before I go on, I want to point out here that this difference, the orange, it is illegal for, if you're using an in-network provider, it is illegal for the in-network provider to bill under the red column, the red billed amount. They have to use the contracted rate. It is in their contract that they have to use that. And so if they're billing you with that, or if they're trying to collect from you this difference, this orange column difference, that's actually illegal. It's called balance billing. So billing the balance between the billed amount and the allowed amount. It's called balance billing, and it is illegal under the No Surprises Act. So if you're using an in-network provider, you should always have your rates run off of the contracted rate or the allowed amount. So this third scenario is somebody that used an out-of-network provider. In this scenario, you can see that the discount is $0. There's no discount. They didn't use an in-network provider. So they have $150 as their billed amount, and the allowed amount is also $150 because, maybe they do have insurance, and that insurance company probably has a contracted rate for that service. But if you're not using in-network, it doesn't apply. So again, that full 150. And I base this off of the fact that most people have out-of-network benefits, and most people's out-of-network benefits have a pretty high deductible. So on this, I said most likely if you're using out-of-network benefits, that full 150, again, this is matching the billed amount because it's out of network. That full 150 is going towards their deductible, which means the patient owes that full 150. Here at Hand in Hand, we do not accept out-of-network benefits. If you want to pay us like this, the billed amount, and then the patient responsibility is the full billed amount. If you want to pay us that self-pay and then submit on your own, I'd be happy to give you the documentation needed to do that. And they will run your benefits based off of whatever out-of-network benefits you have and whatever their contracted rate is. They will not reimburse the full 150. They will reimburse a percentage of it. And so you would owe this to us because that's your patient responsibility under out-of-network, and then they would pay you back some percentage that I don't know because it is very detailed on their end. So that is kind of the specifics. And again, I really want to emphasize here this patient responsibility. This column is not always on your EOB, so that might be a term you haven't heard before. But when you're called to ask your insurance company how much you owe for a service, which we always recommend because they are the bottom line, like they are the ones that decide how much they're paying us. So I give you my best estimate, I give you my best guess. My billing department will give me their best guess, but ultimately what the insurance company says is what we have to go with. And so we always recommend calling them. And when you call them, use this term, patient responsibility. What is my patient responsibility for this service? Because this term includes all of this. And if you just call and say, hey, what's my copay? They might say, well, you don't have one, but you actually have a deductible. Or they might say, well, you don't have a deductible, but you actually have a copay. Or you owe whatever percentage of the contracted rate. Well, what's the contracted rate? And so it just gets real confusing and real, it can be frustrating, even on my end when I make these calls for clients, and even more so when you're the patient. So I want to emphasize to you to use the term patient responsibility because that includes everything. That's saying, hey, after you've taken the bill and you've dropped it down to the allowed amount, and then you've figured out how much the deductible or the copay or the coinsurance covers and all of that, and how much you're paying, what is my out-of-pocket cost is the patient responsibility. That's the key term. So when you call for mental health, and I'll put these in the comments so that you can see them. You don't have to scroll over to 9 minutes into this video. So when you call for mental health, you say, what is my patient responsibility for mental health service for CPT codes 90791, which is the intake, and 90837, which is a regular individual therapy session. If you do family or couples or groups, that actually changes the contracted rate and changes a variety of other things. So I'm not going to get into that right now. But that, again, that's the key term. So tell me your experience. Tell me what questions you have, what concerns you have. Here at Hand in Hand, we double check. Like I said, I do it myself. I do it personally. It's a big part of my job. I double check all of the EOBs and make sure that when I look and see, okay, what was their copay and what was their deductible, what was their patient responsibility, I make sure that matches what we're actually charging you. So here at Hand in Hand, we always confirm that. That being said, like, mistakes happen. People are human. People err. And so, like, whether it's through us or hopefully not us or somebody else, things happen, mistakes are made. I, even as somebody that does this every day, I have had to explain this to family members that are struggling to understand their EOB, especially for some of the bigger ticket health items. So tell me your stories. Tell me your stories about times that you've understood this, times that you didn't understand it, how that impacted you. Tell me any questions, any concerns you have. I'll try and check this. I don't check over the weekend, but I'll try and check it, answer your questions on Monday. And I hope this was helpful to you. And I wish you a great holiday season. And I hope that that your EOBs are easily understandable. Have a good day. Bye-bye.